What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta. Today you're here with D-Boy, and we are back with you guys with a very interesting video that I've got lots of questions about and finding the time to get into it, and that is getting into premium. So now, because the V format is pretty much done, at least for the competitive scene, lots of people are thinking about playing a little bit of premium. And to get into premium, it's not that easy. It's not like standard or V. There is a lot that you need to do, what you need to understand to be able to get into premium. And one of the things that we will do in this video is I will show you how to get the cards to get into premium and what cards you need. This is of course Spike Brother version. And Spark Brothers is actually a very, very, very good clan to get into premium with. Why? Because it's aggressive, it's diverse, and it does give you the opportunity to learn how other deck work. And what do I mean? Well, pretty much when you get into premium, there are some decks that you could play that doesn't let the opponent play. Like for example, Meikoni as a plan and Gridora as a stride. But you also have cards like Chaos Breaker, which also it intervenes so much with your opponent play that you will not let them play the game. Spike Brothers, on the other hand, is actually a very aggressive clan. So you will play V in the early game, and then you will jump into some of your strides that actually it's more of a V plus deck. That's what we called in the early days of V. So in Spike Brothers in Premium, if you haven't seen the video that I made on the channel, I've explained that there are multiple decks that you could make. And in those decks, you have two ways that you could separate your decks. The first one is the Turbo deck, and the other one is the Aggro deck. In the Aggro deck, you have different versions. And in the Turbo deck, of course, you also have different versions. So these are basically the two decks that you could make. In the Turbo, as I said, there are different ways you could build your deck. You could make it Turbo Hybrid, you could make it Aggro Turbo, you could make it Control Turbo, you could make it Slow Control Turbo. We could take another time to talk about these. I've already made a series of 4 videos that talk about the Turbo deck, and I've also made a series of only one video that talks about the Aggro deck. In the Aggro deck, you will find yourself building the deck as I explained in that video that I could put in the description section for you guys below, that you could build your deck with multiple main grade 3s. Like you could build it with Greedon, so you will have a Greedon Rising Max hybrid deck that will focus on, if you ride first, you will basically ride into your Rising Nova, the V version, and then you will copy the Greedon and the Max to make a very strong Vanguard attack that could attack 2 or 3 times. And in that deck, you will basically focus on that first turn, and then after that, you will move the markers that you have with your Vanguard with like a Dudley Mason B version or another card that can move the markers, and then you move them to the side, and then you will continue on with your aggressive strides like Galley Gabrius. You have another version that plays Bruce. The Bruce version is the one that pretty much rely on Julian to make the combo of Julian and the Instructor, which is your stand trigger to multi-attack, and that's also a very, very, very strong deck. But it's inconsistent as hell. You could also work cards in that deck like the Break Ride, Bad and Dragger, the old version, and that would work. But the one deck that works best, in my personal opinion, is the deck that plays the G Rising Nova. And also, it's the deck that shows the best and the most characteristics of original Spike Brothers. And that deck is the deck that we will be focused on in this video, or in this series of videos. Well, this deck is actually quite strong. It could play old cards like the Star, it could play a lot of cards from V, and pretty much focuses on cards like these, like the Ambush Dexter, the Mega Instructor are the cards that actually put in the work. And with your old G Rising Nova, the deck will be able to get into the first stride, even if your opponent's on grade 2. You make markers, you attack a lot. And with that, you will be able to secure the win, or wait into your second stride and then kill them. So this is the deck that we will be building in this video. Alright, so now we are back with another video. As you have seen from last video, we will talk about the cards that you could add to the deck, from V. So this project is of course pretty interesting. I'm showing you in a few videos how to build a strong premium spike with a deck and what cards you need to build that. So for the first video that we have already done on the channel, we went through the old spike with the cards from the V-eara, and now we will go into the V spikes. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, especially if you're a Spike Brother fan or a Bruce fan. But if you are somebody that wants to get into premium, then these videos will help you as well. Spike Brothers is a very, very, very strong and interesting clan to yield and to be able to play, especially now with the newer cards. It's easier to play Spike Brothers than back in the days with having to call only to open regular circles and stuff like that. All right. So now we get into the part where we talk about what cards from V that you want to get to be able to build your Sparkle deck for premium. The first card that you want to have is Rising Nova, the V Rising Nova. You don't really have to get 4 of him because in this deck you also play the G Rising. But if you want to build other decks in the future, like for an example, the deck that you use the maximum with the greed on, then you need 4. But for this deck and for most other decks, even the Turbo GV8 deck, you need 2. 2 are enough because these could be expensive and a little bit hard to get. But if you could get 4, get 4. If you can't, get 2. More than enough for now. Then we have the Max. Again, it's another card that is interesting to have in the Greedon deck. It's a card that's interesting to have in the Turbo deck. It's not expensive, even the SP is not expensive. So if you couldn't get them, I would advise you to get a 3 copy of him or 4 because, again, you will need it in some other decks. The Bull Spike in this deck you will not use. The same goes for the General Seafried. The Maximum is a card that will always be a powerhouse. If you get your hands on some of them, you could get them. But in Premium, we don't play it anymore. Skydiver, on the other hand, is a card that we play. I will get a 2 copy of him because he could be an interesting tag in a lot of Premium decks. Dudley Lucifer is the important card. Happily or luckily, it's reprinted multiple times. So you could get 4 copies of him. 3 is enough, but get a 4th one just in case that you want to have the 4th one in the deck as well. Other cards from this page, I don't think so. Bad and Dragger, interesting card to retire some of their opponent units, but not needed. Cyclone or the Dudleys, the Emperors, of course, there is no reason to get them in Premium. You could get them in V if you want to. Other cards from here also not necessary. No, there is nothing in here that you would rather play in Premium. This is a very interesting card, Wolf, but it's still in progress in the GB8. It's have been in progress for a very long time. From this page, you have 2 interesting cards. Of course, these are interesting as well, but it's mostly about these 2. Spike Bouncer, if you want to build your GB8 deck, there will be moments where you will play 4 copies of him, there will be moments when you play 1, and there will be moments that you play none. But in my personal opinion, get 4 copies of this guy if you can. It's not, I don't think it's expensive, it's also reprinted in the common, I think. Yeah, so I don't think it's that hard to get, but it's not necessary for this deck that we're building, but it is a very interesting and necessary card in Spike Brothers in general. This is a Dorp's Palm, Rona. Rona is e4 off. Get for Rona. Alright, so now we have High Speed Bracky. Interesting card, you don't need it in this deck. You have Barrel, it's an interesting card that you could add to your GB8 deck. If you want to build a GB8, get a 4 copy of this, but in this deck you don't need it. And this is a good card that you could play to move the markers around if needed. It's an interesting card that retires as well, that has the hit pressure. So if you can get a 2 copy of him, he could be interesting in some situations. Right, now we get into Breach. If you can get Breach, get a 4 copy of. Another card the same as the your Spike Bouncer. It could be interesting in some other decks. In this deck you don't use him, but get a 4 copy of. Dudley Mason, the V1, get 2 copy of. It's another card that could move the markers around in some situations. This would be a very, very, very useful card. Dudley Davy, get a 4 copy of him. If you can, you will not play 4 in this deck, but it's a card that you switch with Rona. Rona is your most go-to in most decks, but Davy acts as a replacement for Rona. So in this deck, you would need 1 or 2, but if you get your hands on 4, get 4. Now we have Agile Fullback, get 4 as well. You have Gunslinger. You will not use Linebacker in this deck, so you don't need him. If you can get him, but Agile Fullback, you need 4. It's a very, 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 very useful card. Alright, now we get to some of the promos. If you get the this promo, the one that helps you with your right line, it's a good card to have in any Spike with the deck, so get 4 copies of. Jumbo the Stun Gun, you don't really need him in this deck. We have the old version of him you do need, but for this one, for this era, the V-eara, you don't need this one. If you get a Fiona, get as much as you can, because Fiona is a good card in Spike with this. But in this deck we don't play her, but you could play her, so you could always get a 2 or 3 or 4 copies of Fiona. Anything else in this page? No. Cards from here, nothing that you would use. This is a very interesting card. You read it if you can, search it up, Coyote. But again, interesting one to add to your premium deck, but not to your V deck. Right here we have Wonder Boy. It's a good card to get. You will have some situations where you would play him, but mostly right now you don't. Acrobat Verde, get a 4 copy of, the same as the G1, also get a 4 copy of, so you could switch them around. You always play 4, but sometimes you play 2 on 2, sometimes you play 3 on 1, depending on what starter you play. So get just 4 of him. Anything else? No, you don't need William, you don't need Commander Cannon. The Reckless Express, get a 2 or a 4 copy of, because it's another card that you could actually play in this deck. You mostly play him at 2, but you could switch him to something else. Anything right here that you would play? Yes. This one, Gyro Slinger, you also get 4 of him because he's another interesting card that you could add to the deck. You switch between these two. And one of the most important cards in the whole deck is Ambush Dexter. You definitely need 4. Without him, the deck will not function. So 4 Ambush Dexter next to a Mega Instructor, your stand trigger, it's, I would say, the first or second important card of the whole deck. From this page, you don't need anything. This is an interesting card, but you would not use it. Anything else? Nope. Heals, get 4 of these because they help you out in the early game. They are grade 3s, you could strike with them. It's just a very good card overall to add to the deck. For the starter, get a V starter. You could get Sniper, or you could get a Mega Trainer, the one that you want to. Sniper comes in SP if you want to SP the deck out. Don't get her. Anything else for the triggers? No, not really. Of course, you have your draw PG. Get a 3 copy of that, and the 4th one will be your order PG. But if you don't have that and you find it expensive, then just get 4 copies of her. Then it's easy. Other draw triggers you don't play in this because you play the ones from Overdress because they have a little bit more shield value. So yeah, that's the reason. So that's actually it for for everything right here. Again, I will make a different video where I will show you a fast forward of the deck or what cards you have in there, and for that you will have a recap on which cards you need to get from V and which cards you need to get from Overdress and which cards you need from the V-eara to build your deck. And then in another video we will talk about also the way you build the deck. But that's actually it for now. It's just another fast video to show you which cards you need from the V-eara to add to your already cards that you got from the V-eara, and then all of that put together you'll be able to build a deck. Before you purchase the cards, wait until the other video will come up where I will show you the deck. So in that video you'll be able to be like, okay, I also need this and I need that. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in our channel. I hope that you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. If you have any questions, just let me know and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Thanks again. Until next time.